We're recording. This hangout is on air. On air is live. Okay. Hopefully this records it, and hopefully this works.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thanks. I'm just so frustrated.
That's okay. We are going to just do our best, and then we'll just email them and let them know what happened, and that's all we can do.
Yeah, good plan.
Okay. So do you want to get our level 2, start with that one, the prep assignment? We'll just look at the group assignment.
Yeah, let's do that. So let me go to my BYU.
Okay.
Okay, group collaboration links, group meeting. Okay, addition. I'm going to read it real quick.
Preparation assignment part 2.
Part 2 section. Group quizzes. Okay, so it says we're taking group quizzes and not individual homework quizzes.
That's correct.
You may look at part 2 questions.
Yep. So I'm thinking that we answer our part 2 questions together, and and take a look at the quiz together as well. The quiz questions together, but I think we don't discuss the actual quiz online. You mean we can discuss it, but not a part of this recorded.
Okay, so we can discuss it, but not record it.
Yeah, we don't record that part because people can go, because if they go into our broadcast, they can see the questions and stuff.
Right. Okay. So because I didn't know we were having this meeting until today. Where are our group question things, homework question things we need to discuss?
In each chapter, we're discussing 2 chapters today, correct?
Right. Yes.
So basically, it's part 2. If you go to your homework preparation assignment.
Oh, okay.
So you go to homework preparation assignment, and then part 1 is the part we do individually, and then part 2 is our group preparation session. And so then we just basically in this one we're just discussing what type of sampling method would be for each scenario.
Okay. So hold on, I'm getting to it.
And so you haven't done the homework yet, right?
No, not yet.
Okay. So the homework has, on number 2 of part 1, the homework has the different ones, the simple, the stratified, the systematic, and the cluster. They don't list convenience as one of these because it's not used very often and it's not very reliable.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean it won't. But I think like number 1 in our part 2, number 6, the number A is most likely convenience. Okay. And I do have the answer keys, so we can check and see if we're wrong as we go along, just because we haven't been able to look into it as much.
Okay. Give me a second.
Sure. Did you find it?
I'm getting there.
Okay. And if you haven't really read this, and you're not quite, just because you didn't know about the group meeting and stuff, I don't know if this is going to be way over, if it's even going to be something that you're going to be comfortable.
I feel bad. I feel so bad.
Don't feel bad. I totally understand. I mean, there are some challenges, and that's why the teacher said this one, the first group meeting, is really about just kind of figuring it out.
Right.
But so, have you gone over the sampling methods at all?
No, I haven't. I haven't even been able to read it yet.
So
I haven't done anything.
So then maybe what we should do is how do you want to approach this, since you're kind of in a different place in your homework and stuff? What would be best for you?
Why don't we, okay, I have an idea. Okay, since I haven't really approached it yet, why don't you just talk about the things that you found in your homework and in the reading, and that way, you know, you're still getting credit for that portion for yourself, and then I can just kind of listen to what you have to say and maybe try to give you feedback.
So I really understood the lesson two. Lesson 2 was not bad. That's basically when you talk about your different samples. Okay, and then in the homework, you're gonna have to basically just say which sample matches, you know, which example matches which sample. Okay. And then in the group assignment, we just kind of have to identify which ones are which. You know, when it says if you take a simple random sample of doctors and then sample the patients, what kind of sampling would that be?
Okay.
So if you want to, we could go over the different kinds of sampling if you want to do that.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Yeah, I mean, I know a little bit about sampling, but not enough where I've actually been able to look at it.
Okay, and then I think the next one, if you have you read week 3's homework yet?
No.
Okay, that's where it starts getting interesting. That's where you start looking at null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis.
Okay.
Yeah, and you start using your SPSS on your computer.
Okay.
Yeah, you start figuring out how to do that. So it's a little bit more involved, but basically there's 4 in the homework. They talk about 4 different kinds of sampling. There's the simple random sample.
Okay, I know that.
Okay, so that one would be, if you looked at the homework, I don't know if you have it in front of you, it would be the computer generated draw from a hat. And that's pretty much what they're going to be using most of, you know, a lot of the time.
Okay.
Then there's the stratified sampling. Did you understand that?
Is that where I don't quite know if I know what that one is.
That's where the subjects are in groups according to, it says here, the similarity of some of their characteristics like age, income.
Okay, okay. That makes sense.
And then you take a sample from each of those groups.
Okay.
A smaller sample from each of those groups. So that is the stratify, which like in the homework it'll like strata, it's like, you know, individual. And then the systematic sampling, and the way I remember that is there's always 5th subject, 6th subject. They always pick a subject that ends with, your number is basically a 6th or 8th. So if it's mentioned in the description, then you know it's going to be a systematic one. That's kind of a key word. And then D is the cluster. They just randomly select one or more in a group, and they just sample everybody in that group.
Doesn't matter. They just sample everyone. Okay.
Okay. So then, if you kind of understand those, we might be able to do some of these in the homework where it says. If you understand kind of the different samplings, we may be able to do number 6.
Okay.
If you want to do that.
What does number 6 say? I'm still trying to find it.
That's fine. Number 6 is the type of sampling. Do you have a description of the samplings accessible to you at all?
I have.
You're going to have to start messing with your computer.
Reading open. So let me see. Hold on. I have the reading open.
Okay. If you go further down, I believe it's going to be under collect the data.
Okay.
And it's not going to be under the experiment test, you know, your experiment. It's going to be under your observational study. So
there it is. Okay, observational study.
And if you go down to the collect the data, you're going to see. Do you see that how it starts breaking down the samples? I think that's where it is, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I see systematic sample clusters.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Convenient sample, simple sample.
Okay. So then we can use your computer as a reference if we have a question about what we're trying to figure out. Okay. So 6A is a medical student researches the prevalence of aspirin usage by questioning all of the patients who enter her clinic for treatment.
Okay. Read that question again.
Sure. It's a medical student researches prevalence of aspirin. How often people are using aspirin by questioning all of the patients who enter her clinic for treatment.
That's a collective sample, isn't it?
I think with this one, a collective sample would be. We don't have a collective. You mean cluster sampling?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Cluster sampling. Yeah.
Now remember, with your cluster sampling, you're still put into groups.
Okay, that's right.
This is actually pretty biased because she's only using the one. So basically, she's doing this out of convenience.
So then it's just going to be random sampling.
So it'll be random sampling would be if you take it out of the computer. So read the description for convenience sampling.
Yeah. Which one? Convenient sampling?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, involves selecting items that are relatively easy to obtain and does not use random selection to choose the sample. Even though the sample is chosen by convenience, it should be done without introducing any systematic bias if possible. An example of a convenience sample, an auditor could this is frequently done when a quick and simple sample is needed, but may not yield a sample that represents the population well. When possible, convenient samples should be avoided.
So in this one, the fact that she's at the clinic, she's not going to be able to represent the population as a whole because she's not doing any specific random sampling. Does that make sense? She's not using any, she's just grabbing the people that are walking in. So
right.
I see it as convenience.
Okay, I think you're right. I do agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, so convenient sampling. You might want to write that down on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Okay. And we won't be able to do as much as we usually would do just because of our situation. So we're just going to even if we just do this section and then we can end the call or whatever and then figure out our group quiz situation. We can go from there.
Okay.
But the Colorado Department of Health obtains an alphabetical list of 2 million adult Colorado residents and constructs a pool of survey subjects by selecting every 1,000th name on the list after randomly choosing one person from the first 1,000 on the list.
Okay, I feel like it's random because it even said random.
Okay. Now read the description for the systematic.
Okay. A systematic sample is where auditors select every 1,000 item in the population, being at a random starting point. As an example, suppose there are 2,000 accounts receivable items to be audited, and the auditor wants to get a sample of 40 items from this population. The auditors would sample every 2,000.
The 2,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in this one, they ask for every 1,000th.
Then it's going to be a systematic sample.
It's going to be systematic. That's kind of how I remember is if that number has the TH.
Right. That totally makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So something easy to remember. I figure if those little things that help us remember.
I like it. That's good because I have a hard time memorizing and remembering things, and I like the correlation. That's good. So.
And I think with this class, there's going to be a lot of memorization. So.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Here's the next one. In a Gallup poll of 1,059 adults, the interview subject were selected by using a computer to randomly generate the telephone numbers that were then called. So that would be.
That's the random sampling.
Yes, that's your simple random sampling.
Okay.
You're starting to see it. Okay, yeah.
Yes, I am. I'm getting it. I'm getting the hang of it.
You're doing good. This is the one part I understand. It starts to get a little sticky.
Oh man, I am not looking forward to that. I'm taking so many other classes. I'm just like, oh my gosh, okay.
I know. I don't know how you guys do it. I'm not taking as many, so my kids are in school, so I have a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So here's the next one. A dietitian has partitioned people into age categories, so partitioned and grouped, of categories under 18, then 18 through 49, 50 through 69, and over 69, and she is surveying a simple random sample of 200 members from each category.
So you think this would be a cluster sample? I'm reading the definition of it.
Let's see here. Cluster is where the subjects are put into groups that hopefully represent the population, but if you look at stratified sampling, they're specifically broken into the groups, so there's these ones that are specifically broken into certain age groups.
Okay, so stratified probably then, huh?
And then they would take a sample from each of those groups, so yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
So I think it's kind of when you get used to what they're asking for, you can kind of see it when there's keywords in there. If you can see in the definition, is some of those same keywords that they're using, and that helps us remember.
Okay.
And then the last one is a Johns Hopkins University researcher surveys all cardiac patients in each of 30 randomly selected hospitals.
Yeah, that would be cluster.
Okay.
I think.
Let's take a look.
This is
all cardiac.
Selected months.
I think you're correct. I think it is the cluster.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, because they have to hopefully randomly select one or more groups and sample everybody in that group, and that's what they did, a random sample of each of 30 randomly selected hospitals. So that's what they did. They did a cluster of hospitals and tested all of the cardiac patients in each of those hospitals.
Yep. Okay.
So that is cluster. That's correct. Okay. And so then basically number 7 is the same thing. We just break those down. And then number 8 is then we have to say whether or not it's an observational study or an experimental design.
Okay.
So, do you understand the difference between the observational and the experimental?
Well, the observational, I feel like if you're doing a study, you're just standing back and watching and taking notes. And then with what was the other one, experimental, then you're experimenting. I mean, you're not just standing back and taking notes. You're
controlling
retrying. Yeah, you have like a controlled factor in there.
Okay. So then we have, so then we just so we could probably do number 8 really quick.
Okay.
It says we have to see if it's observational or experimental. And it says the Center for Disease Control obtains current flu data by randomly polling 300 men and 300 women.
Okay.
So would that be observational or experimental?
Experimental. I mean, they're not just standing there. They're polling them unless they're just going to stand back and watch them. Like, is there any more to it?
No, all they're doing is they obtain current flu data. So all they're getting is paperwork.
Oh, okay. I thought they were like actually polling the people themselves.
No, it says the Center for Disease Control obtains current flu data by randomly, which means they're just getting this data by asking 300 men and 300 women questions.
It's experimental. I think it's experimental. I don't think it's observational.
So if it's experimental, what part of this is the treatment and what part of this is the placebo? And if there's not, then that means it is.
Then it's going to be the other one?
Yeah, observational study. Because they're not manipulating it all. They're just asking questions. They're just obtaining.
Okay.
They're just asking questions. They're not actually giving them a flu vaccine to see who.
To test it. They're just asking questions. Okay.
They're obtains current flu data. They're just getting data. So they're just going to take basically answers to questions and then come up with an answer. And so they're not actually manipulating, they're not giving a treatment or
they're not actually doing it. They're not actually performing the experiment itself. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
It's kind of like if you're doing a data poll.
Yeah, okay.
Observational. Okay. And then here, this one, I think you'll know. You plan to conduct an experiment to test the effectiveness of sleepies And so it's supposed to reduce insomnia. So you divide 1,000 patients where half get the sleepies and the other half get a placebo.
Okay, yeah, then we've got
So you
experimental.
record the gender of each subject. This one is experimental.
Okay. And this is still on number 8, right?
Yes. So that's
okay.
A and B of number 8. Okay, and then in number 9, I don't know if you've read enough of it, but they want to know what are the subjects, what are the treatments, and they kind of give you a scenario if it's experiment or observational. I don't know if you're wanting to do that one or not together, or
Let's
if
do
that.
Let's do it. Let's talk it out and do it. Even though,
right.
I'm learning while and then I'll probably just get the hang of it. So let's do it.
That's good. So then basically, here is a pharmaceutical in 2004. It announced the results of its first human trial. And it's basically a topical skin ointment. And a total of 224 patients diagnosed with skin irritations were randomly divided into 3 groups as part of a double-blind, placebo-controlled study. So then they want to know already, we kind of know if it's a designed experiment or an observational study.
And it's designed.
It's designed. Obviously, we're having placebo-controlled group. So the first group receives 0.5% cream. The second group received 1% cream. And the third group gets the placebo. They were treated daily for a 6-week period, and then they just kept track of the degree of the skin irritation, So if there's so then they want to know, number A is this a designed experiment or an observational study?
And it's experiment.
Okay, so it's a designed experiment, yeah. So what are the subjects?
The subjects are the people that they polled.
Yep, those would be and if you were going to be really specific, you would just say the 224 patients with the skin irritations. So 224 patients,
irritation.
Yeah, and I bet you in tests and stuff we're gonna have to be more specific than that.
Oh yeah, obviously.
So we'll have to put that. And then what is the response variable in the experiment? So what are they looking for from this experiment?
I think they're looking at to see how many people get irritated.
Yep. So groups were treated twice daily for a 6-week period, and the degree of skin irritation was recorded at that time. So the response would be the degree of skin irritation.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the question is, what are the treatments?
What are the treatments?
Do you know what it means when it asks for the treatment?
Is that like the resolution to what's been going on or with the problem, or?
If you're sick and you're getting a treatment, that would be, do you know what I mean? If the doctor's going to give you a treatment, he's going to, it's the actual item that they're using, because that's the treatment. The treatment is the cream.
The actual cream, and to see how much it helps. Okay.
And so there's a 0.5% cream. There's a 1% cream. And then there's a placebo.
All right. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, give me 1 second. I have to get my battery plugged in.
You're okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, we're good now. Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Okay, good.
Let's see here. So that's basically the breakdown of, and the definitions will all be in your reading.
Yeah.
So, and the steps. So that's basically
the breakdown of it.
Yeah. So you want to go look at? You want me to just kind of tell you a little bit about the number 3? I don't know if we're going to want to go into number 3 or not, because it's the whole SPSS, and if you're not familiar with the SPSS or anything, I don't think it's going to be I had to sit up last night and do the homework and figure out how to use the SPSS and stuff. So
I figured that out a while ago before this, so I'm kind of getting it slowly. I'm slow when it comes to this.
Okay, so like in the homework we go over, so just so you know, in like 3 you go over your statistical terms like shapes of, you know, the different types of distribution. We go over standard deviation. We explain what standard deviation is. Sample variance. Then there's some, I didn't finish the definitions on that part. I have to finish that because I was up really late trying to figure out. And then in part 2, we're supposed to look up this other part, and then we're supposed to all do the mean, the standard deviation of the different companies, and then we have to make a histogram, and
oh my gosh, there's so much!
I know, and then you have to compare the results you obtain with others in your group. And so I know some groups are meeting twice a week. I think we could do it if we meet once a week, if we kind of have an idea of what's already being asked on here. Does that make sense? If we've done the homework and we already have an idea, we look at the group questions and maybe kind of have an idea of what's being asked, and if it's something that I feel like if it's something we can't, it would be too overwhelming to figure out with the group, that maybe it's something like for me, I did number 10 because it's computing standard deviation by hand, and I really didn't want to sit with the group for half an hour.
No, that's hard. No, that's hard. That's too hard to do
and figure that out. I felt like that was something I did kind of on my own that I felt like, so that way I could either help if someone needed it, or I could just not feel the stress of really watching.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think it's like, I mean, we can try and do as much as we can do on our own and then come to the group. And I feel bad that I'm not prepared, and I feel bad the other two aren't here.
I know, I don't know. I didn't get an invite, and I know that they have, I mean, we did it, so I know it's something that we can do. So,
yeah.
So can we stop the recording, because then we can talk about the group quiz?
Yes, let's do it. Okay, I'm going to stop it. So if I lose you,
then just call me back.
Just call you back.